Howdy, y'all. Caleb here, and let's talk about the Incarnate of Ghur. It's this new model that comes in GW's terrain box. Now, I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to pay 220 bucks for a small box of terrain and this one model. So, I'm going to need your help with some third-party models, maybe, because this is a cool model. I like it. But we're gonna look at how it fits into Seraphon. But I don't know how many people are actually gonna be buying this entire box just for this one model. Maybe you need terrain. Maybe that works well. A lot of people already have enough terrain and they're just wanting this one model. But is it worth it? Let's see. So this Krondspine Incarnate of Ghur has a crazy war scroll. This war scroll is literally 2 pages long. The first page is all the rules of interactions of how the incarnates work, and then the second page is the actual war scroll. We're going to kind of hit on high levels on this. I'll link the actual 2 pages here so you can get a closer look at those down in the description. It is a unique unit that we have now in Age of Sigmar, and it's going to be interesting to see if there's going to be any more of these incarnates, or if they kind of go the way of endless spells. You know, we have a couple of them, and then they're forgotten about. But this one's pretty interesting. It's a 400-point monster that is attached to a hero, that's bonded to a hero via an enhancement. So it seems like you're going to have to use an enhancement slot for this. So think about that when you're building your lists. 400 points is a good chunk of your army, so this thing has to have a role. It has to do something on the board and not just look cool. I'm not going to hit every single thing on this war scroll because it is quite complex. We're going to kind of hit some of the high level topics though. It does have some good attacks. When I see this attack profile, immediately I look at that rend. As a Seraphon player, I'm tired of -1 rend. That's everything in our army has -1 rend just about. And this has -2 rend on its claws and -3 rend on its fangs. That is nice. You can pump up these attacks by being empowered. The more empowered you are, the more attacks you get. As you get busted down a couple brackets, you lose some of those attacks. But you'll always at least have a base of 7 attacks here, doing all multi-damage. It's decent damage here. Let's look at the summary here of the Incarnate. And you can look at the War Scroll that I've got linked below if you want to kind of follow along. But the summary here, it is bonded to a hero via enhancement. So you need to think about what hero you want this on. It does go wild if the hero dies. Now, so I'm thinking of, should we put this on a tough hero? To be honest, I don't really care. I'm going to put this on really any hero I want. I think there's a play for putting it on a weak hero that will get killed quick. Because as we'll talk about here in a second, if it goes wild, it's not that big a deal. As long as it's not going wild in the middle of your army, like on turn 1, I don't think you have to worry about it too much. It does power up by killing other monsters. So I don't think you can ever really guarantee getting those power-ups. It can also power up by doing a monster's rampage that kills an endless spell, but you're rolling dice for that. So it's not really a guaranteed thing. You may not even want to risk it, because if you fail that dice roll, then you're going down a level. So you may not even want to risk it. So I think he's gonna be sitting right there around what we see as that primal level. That's where he starts. Some people may pour some attacks in to try to bust him down a level, but I think he's going to be at that primal level, at least for the first turn or two. He does power down by taking a certain amount of damage. So somebody can pour some damage into him. You're going to roll 3 dice. If you roll under the amount of damage he's taken at the end of Battle Shock, then you go down a level. It's pretty cool because you can't actually kill this monster straight up. You do have to wait until after the Battle Shock round and this dice roll to see if he powers down. Once he powers down twice from that initial starting point, then it's removed from the table. So almost guaranteed to last at minimum two turns. Now somebody could do like a hand of dust on him and pour a ton of damage into him, and that could bust him down 2 brackets in one turn. But again, they're putting a lot of stuff into him turn one, and you should have the rest of your army free to cause havoc. So that's kind of the summary of this thing. What it does here. The positives, it does have a monster keyword, and as part of your army, that monster keyword has a lot of uses. You can use it for different battle tactics. You can use it for capturing objectives. Monster keyword is nice. The enemy can't retreat from it. That is a huge ability. Um, Not being able to retreat from this model means you can tie things up in ways that I'm not sure much else can in this game. This thing is hard to kill, it does some damage, and you can't retreat from it. So that in and of itself makes it a good strategic piece. As I said before, it's nearly guaranteed to last 2 turns, if not more. People are going to be a little reluctant to pour a lot of damage into it unless they know they can get a ton in, but it's still going to last at least until turn 2. It does have high rend and multi-damage attacks, which is good. That's something Seraphon's kind of missing. It does have some negatives, though. It is 400 points, and it's a 130 millimeter base. This thing's huge. It's the size of a Greater Unclean One, the same base that the Greater Unclean One's on. So, or like a zombie dragon. That 130 millimeter base, it's a big base. Another potential negative is going wild, but I think this is easily avoidable. If we look back at the wild form text here, when it goes wild, that means your hero has been killed that it was bonded to. You get +1 to hit rolls for all attacks made by it. Hey, I like that. It can run and still charge in the same turn when it's in wild form. Obviously a good thing. And if it's within 12 of a unit or an endless spell at the start of your charge phase, it must attempt a charge and must make a charge move if possible to do so. So that is where you could go wrong. It could end up charging into your stuff, but you still have control of it. So just make sure on your turn you get this thing outside of 12 of anything in your army. You're moving this forward across the board. Keep your screens in between it and your important stuff, and you'll pretty much guarantee to get this thing out of the way. So I'm not too worried about this thing going rogue. It's possible they could kill your hero that has bonded to it in turn 1. So don't deploy with this thing right in the middle of your army. Definitely put a screen in between it and your army in case that does happen. But usually you can make sure at least one hero that you've got this bonded to is going to stay alive turn 1. But I think that's some of the things we can think about. Let's look at the damage on this Incarnate. You're paying 400 points for it, so it needs to do some work. You're talking Gotrek level of points here, and Gotrek can do a ton of damage, but he's a lot slower than this thing. So the Incarnate average damage versus a 4-up save, you can see the different levels there. I've listed them out. When it's empowered, it's going to do about 15.5 damage to a 4-up save. Primal, which is where it's going to be most of the time, is going to be about 12.5 damage. And it goes down weakened 9.5 damage versus a 4-up save, and abolished, obviously, it's off the table. That's against a 4-up save. That's no buffs added to it, and you can add some buffs to this thing, so it's not bad. If we're just giving it its +1 to hit, all out attack, or if it's gone wild, you can use that all out attack. You'll actually get to pulse to everything around it also when you use it here. But now you're looking at a little bit more respectable damage. The attacks that it has on 3s and 3s, 3 and 2, you're adding +1 to hit to that, and you're getting a lot of those attacks through. So now we're talking almost 20 damage if it's empowered versus a 4-up save. And you can see down here at this chart at the bottom, you can see all its potential damage. And because it has good rend, even against, a 3-up save, it's still doing some work. Even against a 2-up save, it's going to kill a lot of things with 12.5 damage versus a 2-up save. So it's got respectable damage. This isn't like Gotrek levels of damage, but it has a lot of other tools that it can use. That speed, you can't retreat from it. It's really hard to kill. And you're definitely not going to kill it in one turn in normal circumstances. And so this, I think it has a place in a Seraphon army. I wrote up a list here that I think might work for something like this. And I'm taking a Slan Starmaster, And I'm giving the Slon the enhancement of the Incarnate. And this is because usually my Slon is lined up at the back of the board behind the Realm Shaper engine, or in the Realm Shaper engine if I'm not worried about him getting hit there. But usually at the back of the board, out of line of sight, somewhere safe, because he doesn't need to be mixing it up in the middle of the board. So he's going to be safely back somewhere else. And another thing this does is the Incarnate, if it's bonded to a wizard, it will give you +1 to your casts. And so now Slon is native +1. He can get +1 from the Incarnate and +1 from the Sacred Asterisms. So now you've got a +3 to cast Slon, and you didn't have to take the Arcane Might enhancement for that. You're getting it from the Incarnate. And so I like that. You're getting +3 for that Comet's Call, and get this Incarnate bonded to the Slon. I like that a lot. Stellar Tempest on him. I like to start that to bust some hordes. And I think the rest of it's what you would generally see in a Thunder Lizards list. You got your Engine of Gods. I am making that my general with kind of kitted out to be my a damage melee piece if I need it. Primor Beast for extra attacks. Fusel for some mortals. Beastmaster for extra attacks or run and charge. And Curse, which is just a wonderful little prayer on the engine. I've got my Skink Priest for with heal, a Starseer with Hand of Glory, and that Starseer will be nice because it can give you that extra +1 to rend, basically, onto a unit. Just some battle line. I got Knights here. You could also do Skinks pretty easily. 2 Bastildons, and taking it in my Warlord to give me that extra artifact, and Battle Regiment for 6 drops. You are pretty low on wounds. That's only 78 wounds, so you might want to substitute some of those Knights for Skinks. But a pretty nice little list here. We got screens, we got shooting, we got some melee, and we got that Incarnate to go cause some havoc. Now, when you line this up, remember that you do not want to get this thing in the middle of your ranks. So you would want to line it up on the side and get you a screen in between it and your your castle. This is your standard kind of Bastildon castle here. So it is going to be lined up on the flank, and that's fine because you want it away from your other wizards where it would debuff them. It doesn't need to be within range of its bonded hero, and so you've got your Slon wherever it needs to be, and you can take that Incarnate and go bully some part of the board. So an interesting piece here, the Incarnate. I'm not sure. I'm definitely not buying the box for it. I'm going to be keeping my eye on eBay for that part, for that hero, or maybe a third-party sculpt of it. Hopefully they'll sell it separately at some point in time, because I would like to play it with it on the board. It's an interesting piece. Gives some good rend and quite a few mechanics. So check out the War Scroll. I'll have it linked below in the description, and let me know if you're planning on taking the Incarnate in your list. And if you found a good third-party one, hit me up. All right, guys. Catch y'all later.